the experiment number 9, and in that we will see how a DC motor and a stepper motor can be interfaced to the FPGA kit, and by using the code how we can control the speed and the direction of the motor. So let me read out a brief theory. DC motor is a two-wire continuous rotation motor, and the two wires are power and ground. When the supply is applied, a DC motor will start rotating until that power is detached. That means DC motor will have a single winding, and to that winding, whenever we supply power, based on the direction of the current, the DC motor will run either in a clockwise direction or in a anti-clockwise direction. Most of the DC motors run at high revolutions per minute, RPM. For example, when you go to a dentist, the dentist will be using a small equipment to clean your teeth, and that small equipment will contain a small motor, and that motor will keep running at a high speed, and it will be used to polish your teeth also. So that is an example of a DC motor. Inside your mobile phone you will have a vibrator. That vibrator is connected again to a small DC motor. So these are all the examples of DC motor. Some examples mentioned here are fans being used in computers for cooling, or car wheels controlled by a radio. Those are all DC motors. It is not the fans which we are using in a regular basis in our daily lives. It is not the ceiling fan or a table fan or a pedestal fan. Those are all AC motors running directly by 220 volts. Whatever here we are mentioning is DC motors. The DC motor speed can be controlled by using PWM, pulse width modulation technique, a technique of fast pulsing the power on and off, and the percentage of time consumed cycling the on and off ratio defines the motor speed. So just to illustrate this particular PWM technique, now let me stop sharing this PDF and let me share the whiteboard. I hope the whiteboard is audible. Can somebody mention? Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So let me show you a simple diagram. Now this is a DC motor. Imagine this way. This is a DC motor. And in this motor you will have a single winding. Now this single winding, if I apply a voltage like this, now it will run in a clockwise direction. If at all I apply a voltage like this, then it will run in a anti-clockwise direction. That's all. So in the code, we have one particular signal or variable where we will be supplying power through the FPGA kit to the DC motor, and the DC motor is connected again in a daughter board. Through connectors we will make all those connections to the FPGA kit, and we will give that variable in this direction, then the motor will run in the clockwise direction. We can simply change the value of the variable from 0 to 1 and 1 to 0. Automatically in the daughter board, the direction of the current will change and the motor will run. That is the basic principle here. Now we will use one variable for controlling the direction. Now how do we control the speed? One point is, either we have to apply a larger voltage or a smaller voltage. Let us say we apply 3 volts, then maybe 1.5 volts, then maybe 1 volt. We may think that way. But no, that will not work out so easily. The reason is, the motor speed, motor requires a certain amount of torque. There is a momentum there. And initially there is a inertia. In any motor there is an inertia. This inertia needs to be overcome. At that time the motor draws a lot of energy. Later on, once motor starts running, then the supply, if at all there is a variation, the speed gets affected. So there is a technique called PWM. Let me write it that way. That is a technique called PWM. So what does PWM mean? Let us say I apply a pulse like this. Then after some time I apply a pulse like this. When I apply a pulse here, as soon as I apply a pulse, the pulse is applied to the winding and the motor will start running. Now don't think that once this pulse is off, motor will stop, because motor is basically an inductance, right? Motor's winding is basically an inductance. We are supplying a pulse to an inductive load. So as soon as we supply a pulse for an inductive load, you have already studied mathematics. So you know that this pulse will become like this. And it will become like this. The pulse will become an integrated waveform when we apply to an inductive load. So the motor will not stop. Okay. Again, the next pulse is coming after some time. When the next pulse is coming after some time, that energy is being stored in the coil. And because of the storage of energy, the motor will keep running. So don't think that when we apply a pulse, motor will run, and when we stop the pulse, motor will turn off. It is not that way. Now let us say we apply a pulse like this. Now you can see an example of a pulse width modulation here. Let me write one more pulse below. So you can see here, I am showing you 3 pulses. In all these 3 pulses, period of the waveform is same. You can see here, right? Now this is the period, total time period of the waveform is same. This is now T. That is same everywhere. Only thing is, on period of the pulse is being reduced. Okay. So what does it mean here? When the on period of the pulse is larger, then the speed of the motor will be more. Whenever you reduce this pulse this way, the speed of the motor will get reduced. Please remember, we are discussing the inductive load, and to the inductive load we are applying this waveform. So in this way, the speed of the motor can be controlled by means of a technique called PWM. I hope you got this point. Any questions here? Okay, if there are no questions, let me stop presenting this whiteboard and let me come back to the lab manual. So I discussed about this DC motor speed, which is being controlled by means of pulse width modulation technique. So in our code we will have 2 signals now. One is for direction and one is for controlling the speed, and for that speed we will give many values there. That when I come to discuss the code, I will tell you. Now coming to the next point, a stepper motor. A stepper motor is fundamentally a servo motor that uses a different method of motorization. Stepper motor utilizes multiple notched electromagnets arranged around a central equipment to describe the position. Again, I am going back to whiteboard and I am going to show you the windings there. You will have to wait until then. Now the stepper motor needs an exterior control circuit to separately energize each electromagnet and make the motor shaft on. When the electromagnet is power driven, it attracts the equipment's teeth and supports them somewhat offset from the next electromagnet B. That means there will be 2 electromagnets A and B. When A is turned off and B is turned on, the apparatus rotates slightly to align with B, and everywhere the circle with each magnet around the apparatus energizing and de-energizing in turn to make a rotation. So this rotation is not continuous. This rotation is only step by step. The examples are all robotic arms in general. They all move step by step. Many of you have already done the mini project using Arduino boards, and some of you might have done it for controlling the speed of a vehicle in a robo model also. So in all those cases, the wheels move in steps. That is because the wheels are controlled by this stepper motor to change the direction of movement. So each revolution from one electromagnet to the next is named a step, and therefore the motor can be activated by exact predefined step angles through a full 360-degree rotation. Stepper motors are slow but easy to set up, precise rotation and control is there. That is the advantage over other motors like servo motors in controlling of a position. Now the servo motor cannot be stopped abruptly, where the stepper motor can be stopped abruptly. How? Because it is moving in steps and it is not moving continuously. Now that is suitable for 3D printers and related devices where the position is essential. Now let me go back and let me show you how this stepper motor's winding is connected. So let me completely erase the screen. Okay. So the earlier diagram was a DC motor. Now I am going to write a stepper motor. Now in the stepper motor there will be two windings. This way. Now let us say I apply a pulse here and let us say I make it like this, plus minus, and let us say I make it like this, plus minus. Now the motor will run in this direction. Instead, let us say I make this plus, this minus, and then this plus, this minus. Now the motor will move in this direction. But remember, the motor is going to move always in steps because there are two sets of electromagnets. There are two windings now. Now when I show it here like this is plus plus here, then minus minus here, and we can write the variable in our code as, let me choose a color, 1 1 0 0. Corresponding to this plus plus minus minus, it is 1 1 0 0. Now corresponding to the other one, minus minus plus plus. Minus minus here, black I have written, minus minus plus plus here. Corresponding to that, we can have a variable, which color I choose, I am just choosing. This is now 0 0 1 1. Now remember, this 1 1 0 0 is corresponding to these two. This 1 1 0 0 is corresponding to these two. 1 1 0 0 plus plus minus minus. So we can say the direction of the movement is clockwise. On the other hand, the 0 0 1 1 is corresponding to these two. So now we can say the direction of movement is anti-clockwise. That is how these two windings are interlinked. And again, always it will move in steps. So now in our earlier DC motor, we had a single variable for controlling the direction. Now in the case of a stepper motor, we will have these 4 bits to control the direction of the motor. And then to control the speed, in the case of DC motor, we have one more method of PWM, whereas here for the speed of DC motor, we will have some other variable that I am not exactly recalling now. I will show you in the lab manual, and when I discuss the code, I will discuss that in detail. So I hope you got the idea about how a stepper motor moves. So any questions here? I hope this is understood. Any questions here? Okay, if there are no questions, I will proceed now. I will come back to the lab manual. So let me discuss the code now. DC motor speed and direction control. module, DC motor. We have this clock, reset, direction, row, enable, motor 1 and motor 2. Clock is by default 4 MHz for the FPGA board. Reset is in general to make everything default 0. Now direction is for controlling the direction of the motor to clockwise or anti-clockwise. Now we have one particular signal called row. Now in this row, actually in the daughter board we have some switches. By means of these switches we are going to choose the speed of the motor. We have 4 speeds here now, and for that we have one more variable called enable. Now we have this motor 1 and motor 2. This motor 1 and motor 2 are the 2 sides of the same winding. So when we apply pulse here, if at all this motor 1 we make it as plus and motor 2 as minus, then it is a clockwise direction. Otherwise motor 1 is minus and motor 2 is plus, that is anti-clockwise direction. So we can say motor 1 is logic 1 and motor 2 is logic 0. Later on, for the other direction, we can say motor 1 is logic 0 and motor 2 is logic 1. That way, we are going to set the variables. So these are all the variables which you define: input, clock, reset, direction, and input. There is a 4-bit row there. By means of 4 keys, whichever key we press, based on that the speed is going to be selected. And output register motor 1 and motor 2. This is what I told you, either 10 or 01. Then output enable. Now we have one register called div. Now div, look at this. This is a 26-bit register. I'll tell you later on why we are using this 26 bits register when I discuss the logic of driving the motor. We have 2 wires called clock D and tick. Again, what is clock D? Division of the clock. What is tick? That is based on the switches we press. And we have 2 registers, 8-bit, one counter, 8-bit, one duty cycle. Now this duty cycle and this counter are related to the concept of PWM. In general, what is duty cycle? Duty cycle is pulse, total period, and its ratio with the on period of the pulse. In general, we say T on divided by T on plus T off. That is the duty cycle. Now we change the duty cycle and then we change the total width of the pulse also, total duration of the pulse also. In that way, even though we mention it here as duty cycle, it is mentioned, it is connected to PWM only. Through that only the speed of the motor is varied. So now you can see multiple always blocks in this code now. There is one always block here and there is one more always block here. There is one more always block here. Remember, all these always blocks are concurrent. Let me tell you one by one. Always at passage clock, begin, div is div plus 1, end. That's all. This is one always block. So what does this mean? Our clock to the FPGA kit is 4 MHz. Now we are declaring div equals div plus 1. So this div is now every positive edge of the clock, div is being incremented. Means your div is going to become 2 MHz now. It is like divide by 2. Now we say assign this clock D equals div of 8. Now it is the 8th position of div. As you know, we have declared the div as 26 bits. LSB is now 2 MHz. Remember, clock is 4 MHz. So the LSB of this variable div is 2 MHz. Now the next one is 1 MHz. The next one is 50 kHz. The next one is 25 kHz. That way it goes on. So why we are doing this? Because our load is an inductive load. Our clock frequency is in megahertz. So the response of the FPGA kit is in microseconds. Whereas the DC motor or stepper motor, they are inductive loads. They will not respond to microsecond pulses or microsecond signals. They will respond to millisecond and second signals. So our clock is of higher frequency. We want to make it much lower frequency so that the motor will respond to our signals. That is why you can see this clock D is assigned with the 8th position of due. So you can understand now, from 4 megahertz we are dividing it down to a few kilohertz. You can find out the exact value later on. Or meanwhile, if any of you are interested, you can pick up the calculator and you can tell me the value also. I am telling you the clock is 4 megahertz. Now due is becoming 2 megahertz because it is every passage clock due is due plus 1. So the LSB of this signal due is 2 megahertz. I already gave you the hint. The next bit is 1 megahertz. The next bit is 50 kilohertz. Sorry, 500 kilohertz. The next bit is 250 kilohertz. That way it goes on. So the due 8, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that way, because we have declared this reg as 25 colon 0. So starting from 0, 0 is LSB. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 means it is the 9th position of the signal due. So you can calculate and tell me, anytime you can unmute and tell me what is the frequency of this clock D. But I have told you the intention. Our intention is we have to have a signal which is in sync with the clock also, but this signal should be of much lesser frequency when time compared to clock, because motors cannot respond to high frequency signals. That is the idea. So assign clock D is the 9th position of due. Now assign tick as row of 0 and row of 1 and row of 2 and row of 3. What is this row? In the daughter board, wherever our DC motor and stepper motor are present, in that daughter board there are 4 keys. We press one of those 4 keys to select the speed. Let us say low speed, medium speed, high speed, very high speed. That way. These are the 4 keys. And whenever you press a particular key, that key will have a switch, right? That switch will give a signal to the FPGA board. And based on that, we are giving a signal to the FPGA board about whether we are choosing low speed or medium speed or high speed or very high speed. Based on that, now the PWM will happen. So this is the input now. This tick is a single variable now. Remember, now tick is a single variable where we are doing the ANDing operation here. Okay. Now assign enable equals 1. Always at passage clock D. See, clock D is now the 9th position of due. Students are yet to tell me the frequency of this clock D. Begin counter is counter plus 1. We want to keep a count on whether the switches will be pressed again or not, whether the speed will be again changing or not. And that is finally connected to our variable called duty cycle, that is related to pulse width modulation. So we are using one more variable called counter. Every positive edge of this due 9th position or clock D, we are incrementing this counter. Now look at this neg edge tick. Always at neg edge tick. Now negative edge of the tick. Now whenever you press a button, what happens? You are pressing a button. So let us say this is row of 0 and row of 1 and row of 2 and row of 3. Now you can see case row 1110. In general, this tick, whenever you press a button, it will go high. This is an active low signal. You can see this 1110. It's an active low signal. That means by default, all of these keys will be high. Whenever you press a switch, it will become low. So now, in general, it is 1 and 1 and 1 and 1, right? That is the value of this tick. Now, whenever we press a button, it will go into a negative edge. It will become 0 because we are pressing one of these buttons and that button is corresponding to a 0 because it is active low, and the tick is going to become 0. That is why it is given here as negative edge of the tick. As soon as this negative edge of the tick is happening, at that time, the rows are being checked by the code now. Now, if the row is containing 1110, then the duty cycle is assigned with the value 250. This is the speed here. Now 1101, speed is changing. 1011 speed is changing, 0111 speed is changing. Default duty cycle is assigned with 30. Means by default it is having a very less value. The speed will be very low by default as soon as the kit is turned on and the FPGA is programmed. Later on we are going to press these 4 buttons. So this 40 corresponds to the lowest speed, that is row of 0. You can see the 0111. Next medium speed, then high speed. The 250 value corresponds to the highest speed. Now this value of 30 till 250 itself is indicating the pulse width modulation there. Actually, I have told you already about duty cycle, T on by T on plus T off. That is what is corresponding to these values which we have given. Now you may ask, why did we write it as duty cycle? We can write it as PWM also, right? Yes, we can write it in any way. There are multiple styles of writing a code, multiple styles of programs. This is one style. So you can change the variable names to your own interest, and you can utilize a different technique also. Instead of this duty cycle, you can mention as pulse width modulation PWM only. It doesn't matter actually, but the logic remains the same. So this is for selecting the speed. Now let us come to how to select the direction. You can see there are multiple always blocks. There is one always block here in the beginning to obtain the signal due. Then you can see some concurrent assignments here. Then one more always block for using this variable called counter, and then one more always block for selecting the speed. Now the last always block is for setting the direction. So there are 4 always blocks in this code. Remember, all the 4 always blocks are concurrent. That means they are all executing simultaneously. So I am coming to the last part here in the DC motor. Always at reset comma direction begin. If reset is 0, then begin. Motor 1 is assigned with 0, motor 2 is assigned with 0. You can see both sides of the winding, both tips of the winding are assigned with the value 0. That means the motor will not run at all. Else, if reset is 0, then this happens. If reset is not 0, else if direction is 0, now direction will have 2 values, 0 and 1, that is clockwise and anti-clockwise, that way. If direction is 0, begin, motor 2 is assigned with 0. You can see this, motor 2 is assigned with 0. Now, that means motor 2 is connected to the negative side of the voltage or the pulse. Now, if counter is less than or equal to duty cycle, we are using a check on this value called counter. You can see this particular code, always at passage clock of D, that means 9th position of this due. At that time only counter is going to be incremented. We are checking on that. Now, always whenever counter is less than or equal to duty cycle, now motor is assigned with 1 and else motor 1 is assigned with 0. You can see motor 2 is assigned with 0 here. As long as this is there, motor 1 is assigned with 1. Now that value of duty cycle comes into picture for the number of pulses being put into the winding, and the motor will start rotating in the clockwise direction. Now else, see, if direction is 0, else there is a comment here if direction is 1. We don't have to say direction is 1 because that is given through a switch there. On the daughter board there is a switch to select the direction also. There are 4 switches to select the speed also. So else begin, motor 1 is assigned with 0 and motor 2 is assigned with 1. You can see here. Again, if counter is less than equal to duty cycle, it will keep running in the other direction. Else, let us say direction is not set that way, and if reset is not, if enable is not there, if reset is not asserted, then the motor 2 is assigned with 0, and then it is end module. So this is the way in which we are controlling the speed of the DC motor and the direction of the DC motor. So now let me continue discuss the stepper motor. Before that, any answer for my question? I asked what is the speed of that ninth position of div. Anybody found the answer? Okay, I'll keep waiting for your answer. I'll continue to discuss the stepper motor. Remember that in the whiteboard I had already drawn these two windings and I had discussed about the variable 1100 and 0011. Remember that? That is going to be helpful to us now. Module, stepper motor, input clock, input reset, input direction, input 1:0 row. So now here we have this only two dip switches here now. Instead of the push button switches, now in the stepper motor's daughter board, we have dip switches. Now when we have these two dip switches, out of the 8 dip switches, we are going to select only 2 dip switches. When the offline labs start, when you come here to the campus, you will be able to work on these kits directly, then you will understand it more clearly. But as of now, I cannot help you in fully understanding these particular experiments because these are basically hands-on experiments. So you will have to wait until we call you to the campus and you work on it. So otherwise, you just visualize this 1:0 is basically 2 switches there, 2 dip switches, both of them can be turned on or off. So now there can be 4 positions: off, on, off. That way there can be now 4 positions, unlike the push button switch in our previous case. In our previous case, it was only 4 switches. We used to press 1 switch at a time for selecting the speed. Whereas in the case of the stepper motor's daughter board, we have 2 dip switches. We can put them into 2 positions of on and off. So both will give a signal to the FPGA board. So that way we will have 00, 01, 10, 11. We will have 4 variables now of 2-bit size. Now using that, we can control the stepper motor. It will be clearer to you now when I discuss the code. So output register 4 bits D out, and then we have one more register 26 bits division clock, just like we had it in the DC motor also, right? Here we have register 25:0 div. This is totally 26 bits or 26 positions. In the same way, here also we have output register 26:0 div clock, then register int clock. Actually there must be a space here, not here. Imagine this register and INTCLK. Then another register called register itself, which is 4 bits. Let us see what for is this div clock and int clock are used. Again, we have these always blocks here. Always at passage clock, begin div clock is div clock plus 1. Means we are making this div clock divided by 2. So clock is 4 megahertz, div clock is now 2 megahertz. Now always at row comma div clock. You can see case row 2 tick B00, then 01, then 10, then 11. Here you can see there will be 2 dip switches. If both are off, it is 00. If the first LSB side is on, that is 01. MSB side is on, that is 10. Both are on, that is 11. Now based on this, we are deciding upon the speed of the motor. Now you can see when it is 00, it is div clock of 21 position. If it is 01, div clock 19 position, similarly 10, 17 position, 11, 15 position, by default it is 21st position. Now as you know, LSB is the fastest side and MSB is the slowest side. Now in this div clock, we are using the 21st position. That means that is the slowest one. If we use the 15th position, that is the fastest one. That is how speed of the motor will be changed. Now div clock 15 is the fastest speed and due clock 21 corresponds to the slowest speed. Why are we not using below 15? Can anybody tell me why are we not using below 15? Any answer? Okay, let me tell the answer. The answer is, as I already told you, we are using an inductive load. Motor is an inductive load. Now, if at all we use the pulse which is of the lower position, now that will be in microseconds and in milliseconds. Now, the motor will not respond to very small pulses. That is why we are declaring this due clock in this way and we are using its respective positions. By default, the motor will be running in a very slow speed. That is why this internal clock is assigned with this due clock. That is why that int clock is also declared here so that it will have that particular variable. When we connect this daughter board to the FPGA kit and when we set our user constraints file, there for each of these int clock we are going to assign a particular pin in FPGA. For all these inputs and outputs we will be assigning particular pins. That is why we are using these many signals or variables. Now coming to the last part. Always at passage int clock comma direction. Positive edge of the int clock there. Begin. If not reset, then register is 4 tick B1001. Now remember those two windings where I had written 1100 and 0011 plus plus minus minus or minus minus plus plus. Only then both the windings will be energized. Now you can see in this particular default value of a register it is 1001. Means what? The first winding is 1, then it is 0, but the second winding is now 0 and then 1. So the both windings are going to oppose each other. The field which is induced by both the windings is going to oppose each other and the stepper motor is not going to move at all. Okay, that is the logic here. That is why I showed you two windings. Now begin. If not direction. If not direction means if direction's value is 0. We select again the direction using another switch there. So if not, then register is assigned with, you can see register of 0, comma, register of 3, colon 1. Now can anybody tell me what is this operation? Anybody can tell me what is this operation? This is a concatenation operation. In this concatenation operation, what are we doing? Register of 0, that is 1. Then concatenated with register of 3, colon 1, that is 100. So you can say now, this one is coming here at register of 0, then this 100 is coming here. So the value of the register will be now 1100. I hope you got it. Later on I will share the whiteboard again and I will show this again. Now else, if not direction, else means if direction. If direction is 1, then register is assigned with register 2, colon 0. What is the 2, colon 0? 0, 1, 2. That is 0, 0, 1. So this 0, 0, 1 is coming here. And then register of 3. That 1 is then coming here. So the value is what now? 0, 0, 1, 1. In the second case, the value of this register is 0, 0, 1, 1. That means it is an anti-clockwise direction. Otherwise here it is, you can see, first this comes, this 1 comes here, then it is register 3, colon 1 means it is 1, 1, 0, 0. So in that way, we are fixing up the direction by applying the respective pulses to both of the windings. So I have discussed about how speed is going to be controlled for the stepper motor, and I have discussed about how the direction is controlled by means of this particular signal called register, where we give that direction only by another switch by making it on or off simply. Okay, here all the controls are by means of the dip switches only. It is not by means of the push button switches in the case of the stepper motors daughter board. That is how the board is designed. As I told you, there are multiple styles of programming and there are multiple ways of implementing the hardware also. It is up to a individual's style or thought process. So I don't think I should use whiteboard once again because I have discussed already about how this 1001 becomes 1100 and 0011. I don't have to show you the details of this user constraints file. When you come back to the college, you will be using all these details to assign particular pins of the FPGA to all these particular variables. You can see here clock, enable, motor 1, motor 2, row of 0, row of 1, row of 2, row of 3, direction and reset. All these are basically connected to our code only, but ultimately they have to be realized by means of a particular pin. This is in the case of a DC motor. Similarly, in the case of a stepper motor, you can see row of 0, row of 1, direction, D out of 0, D out of 1, D out of 1, D of 3, then reset. These are all connected to those FPGA pins. In fact, these pin can be changed also, but in general, here we don't change the pin because they are all connected to daughter board by means of the respective FRC cable. So here we don't have the freedom to change all these pins. Otherwise, if you are using a general purpose code and if you are going to use a pattern generator and a logic analyzer, then you can use all those pins in FPGA either as input or output. You have the freedom there. Now here, as we are using the daughter boards individually for a DC motor and stepper motor, already the connectors are fixed there. So we don't have the freedom to change the pins here. So in the exam, anyhow, all these details will be given to you. Separately, a sheet will be given to you where all these UCF are going to be provided. You will have to upload your UCF file into the Xilinx tool according to this. So with this, I am coming to the end of today's lab. So whatever is the result that I am unable to tell now, when you come back to the college, when you work with it, then only the result is fully satisfied. So any questions here? Okay, if there are no questions, I'll stop the recording.